we're in. So welcome back to the Zedoralive podcast. I'm here today with my guest. I'll let him introduce himself.
Hey everyone, Jaydon, thanks for having me.
No problem.
My name is Karim Ali and I'm the co-founder of the Gaza Sunbirds. The Gaza Sunbirds is a paracycling team based in the Gaza Strip. We have 20 athletes now over there and 5 members of staff that are currently facing the brutality of the Israeli occupation. The team's been around at the moment for about 3 years, and they've been hoping to go and compete in the Paralympic Games as paracyclists. The story of the team is kind of best told through the story of the co-founder. His name is Ala Dali. So Ala was the cycling champion in Gaza, and for 6 years he wasn't allowed to leave to compete internationally because of the Israeli siege. There's a land, air, and sea blockade in Gaza, and the Israelis have always controlled what electricity comes in, what water comes in, what food comes in, who comes out. And so because of that, he was never allowed to leave. Until 2018, he finally had the opportunity to go and compete in the Asian Games in Jakarta. A life-changing moment for Ala. He was really excited at the time. He was 21 years old. He'd never left the strip. It's 40 kilometers by 7 kilometers of land. And 4 months before his race, he decided to go to the Great March of Return. So the Great March of Return was a series of peaceful demonstrations organized by the people in Gaza to demand the right to return back to their historic homes. It's what's now the occupied Palestinian territories, or in the south of Israel and all the way across Palestine. And to also ask for their own self-determination, ask for the opportunity to lead themselves, to control their own borders, to bring the siege down. And because Ala had never been allowed to leave, this was important to him. It was also important to him as an athlete, as a sports person. So on that day, he took his bike and he took his cycling jersey and he went along to this protest. Thousands of other Palestinians. And on that day, the IDF shot more than 32,000 Palestinians. Of them, 155 ended up with amputations. And Ala was 300 meters away from the border fence with Israel when an IDF sniper shot him with an explosive bullet in the knee. After that, Ala was rejected medical leave from Gaza. 88% of Palestinians that were injured on that day were rejected medical leave. And because of the siege, because the healthcare infrastructure in Gaza has always been crumbled, Ala had to get his leg amputated. And at the time, he called it the amputation of his dream. So the Gaza Sunbirds, where did that start? Ala decided that he doesn't want to give up on his dream. Ala decided that he wants to get back on the bike. And he became the first paracyclist in Gaza. Not just that, but he wanted to take other people who had amputations and other people with disabilities because of the siege, because of the occupation, on this journey with him of building a professional paracycling team to be able to take charge of their narrative and share their stories with the world. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about us and how we came to be.
Yeah, that is a crazy story and obviously an unprecedented kind of situation to be in. And so why the Sunbird for the symbol?
So the Sunbird means a lot to Palestinians. For starters, the Sunbird is the national animal of Palestine. Palestine made the Palestine Sunbird its national animal in 2015, when the Israelis were lobbying to get the name changed to the Israeli Sunbird, trying to erase our history and our belonging and our relationship to the land. The Palestine Sunbird indigenously is found in Palestine. But like the Palestinian people, it's kind of been moving around a lot more recently, and it can be found now in Yemen, it can be found in Egypt, it can be found in Jordan. And so the bird tells the story of our people. And another thing about the Sunbird, and particularly for us being a team of paracyclists, the Sunbird doesn't need legs to fly. The Sunbird doesn't believe in borders. The Sunbird goes wherever it pleases in the land, and it doesn't care about the occupier, doesn't care about the colonizer. it continues to be as it was found, being the Palestine Sunbird and roaming freely. And so to us, that's a bit of our aspirations of where we'd like to get to.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. How did you get involved?
To film Alaa's story. I was a student at the time. They kind of approached me to translate their documentary from Arabic to English. It was absolutely random. I was involved in the Palestinian student movement here. I was involved in a lot of mutual aid work as well, and kind of a lot of grassroots organizing. So that came down the grapevine, and I took the opportunity. And when you translate, you really have to go into depth with what the person means. You really get into the basis of their emotions and why they're choosing the words that they're choosing. And so I translated Alaa's interviews and his videos. I watched them hundreds of times. Hundreds of times. There was hours of content. And I think by the time I finished, I had listened to them so much in my head. I was like, what the hell? Like, I feel like I'm this guy. Like, me and Alaa became like one person. I couldn't. And in a way as well, like, my first protest ever was for the Great March of Return when I moved to the UK, because we don't have protests back home. And so that very same protest that I got to go in central London, I got to leave comfortably, go back to my house. Alaa lost his dream in it. Alaa lost his dream, he lost his leg, lost his entire life. And so I fell in love with the story, and I reached out to him towards the end of COVID. We kind of came up with this idea, like, it was his idea. We just kind of pushed it. Me, my friend Sam Gali at the time, Flavia, a guy called Isam Adwan as well. He's one of the co-founders of We Are Not Numbers. They're a group that tells stories in Gaza, and they were actually the first people to tell Alaa's story to the world. And we got together and we were like, let's make this happen. Let's start a paracycling team. How difficult can it be to get a couple of guys on bikes in Gaza? And I mean, I'm still laughing about that stupidity of that statement to this day, because it's ended up being one of the most difficult things
Yeah.
you can even imagine.
Yeah, I can imagine even just starting could be a difficult thing for a lot of people. But then when you really get into it and you figure out the logistics, especially, you're halfway across the world from people, it can be even more of a challenge. And I think we've seen a lot of more kind of young journalists coming out of Gaza and across the world who are speaking out about these atrocities. Maybe you could tell us a bit more about kind of what the makeup of the Gaza Sunbirds is in terms of the types of people and what they're doing.
Sure. So the Sunbirds has actually had a lot of athletes cycle through. So amputations are generally not seen as progressive conditions. When you get an amputation, that's supposed to be it. But in Gaza, because of the poor state of medicine, amputations turn into progressive disorders, right? So people have to get not one amputation, but they get one amputation and then there are complications. So they'll go back and do another amputation, and then there will be complications, and then they'll go back and do another amputation. So across the years, we've cycled through maybe 17 athletes who joined the team, but were just simply not able to continue. But for those that have at the moment, I mean, our youngest athlete was 12 years old. Is 12 years old, I guess. We had another guy who's 14. His name is Alaa Sorki. He actually, I think, lost his leg in a cycling accident when he was a kid. But he still loves cycling so much. And when he learned about the Gaza Sunbirds, he was like taken over by joy that there were people with amputations who were actually cycling in Gaza. He started going out and cycling with the guys. We have some athletes who are 19, 21, 24. Our founder now is 26. I met him when he was 23, 22. The time has flown by. And we have a few older guys as well. We have, I think, one or two athletes who are in their late 30s, early 40s. They're not necessarily training for international competitions, but they're just trying to rehabilitate, trying to get back on their bike, trying to join in with the fun.
Yeah, I think the makeup of the organization is really interesting, because when you think about kind of other organizations that are trying to do similar things, they might tend to trend a bit older. Do you think there's something in that kind of with young people and their resistance to oppression that, has kind of forced that makeup of the Gaza Sunbirds?
Well, I think what's forced that makeup of the Gaza Sunbirds is Gaza itself,
Yeah,
actually.
of course.
So Gaza is more than 80% youth. Like, I think more than 50% of the population is under the age of 18, just for starters, right?
Yeah.
So I think if we look up at the composition of the people we have to work with, they're more likely or not these people that are dying as well, they're children. 50% of the people that have died now are children. It's because 50% of the country is children,
Yeah.
of the city's children, sorry. So really, when you talk about youth, you are talking about Gaza. When you talk about the future of youth, you're talking about the future of Gaza. You're talking about the future of 1.5 million people that are our age and younger than us that have a dream in the future. Tends to be a lot more motivation. There tends to be a lot more hope. And as an athlete starting out your career, you need that drive. Yeah.
I think there's definitely that mirror, I guess, with the support that we've seen in the UK just living here and in Gaza, and that, young people are far more supportive of the Palestinian in this conflict. And when you think about the inverse of that, people who trend older tend to be kind of in direct opposition to the Palestinian conflict, or, they're more apathetic. Do you think maybe, young people on social media have kind of supported that? Or do you think, the older people are just kind of not really in tune with what's happening on the ground, like young people might be, who are more, plugged in, I guess you could say?
Mm. So I think when you look at the Palestinian struggle over many, many years, we have a crisis of narrative often. And that's really driven by our geographic division as a people. And there are very rare inflection points in Palestinian history where we've been able to have single representative that the entire community trusts to tell our story, or even had the ability to tell our stories under consistent lockdown, under consistent siege, under consistent brutal military occupation. And so I think for years, the media and stories that people have been telling have been very much driven by the Zionist narrative, which is to a large extent based on propaganda that's built to justify our displacement and our consistent persecution by the Israeli regime. I would say that at the same time, for years, like the spirit of our resistance and the spirit of what Palestinian struggle means to people all across the global south, but also all across the world, has always been present. I think what we see now is bittersweet, right? Because you have like 750,000 Palestinians that were displaced, maybe even more in 1948. There's now more than 8 million of us around the world, all of us dispersed in different countries and different cities, all of us speaking different languages, all of us with different groups of friends and different cultural like traditions as well. But the single thing that unites us all is that we believe in Palestine. We believe in our right to exist on that land. We believe in our ancestral right to return to that land as well. And so now the diaspora, as well as the empowerment of youth in Palestine as well, through social media, being able to get their message out through the non-traditional media outlets, has really created a space where globally we're partnering, we're building allies, we're building friends, and our cause is growing, and it's growing greatly. The youth's energy is amazing. I mean, what can we say? Look at the type of content we put out. Like, people love to see the stories. People love to feel the connection. People love to learn. It's just we're coming up with more creative ways to do that these days, and ways that work better for people from all age ranges. So I think that obsession at the moment that everyone is having is making a really big impact, and we need to keep going with fighting this information war and this culture war.
Mm.
I think the biggest thing that distinguishes younger people from their parents are that we're probably closer to the tap of information. We follow the right people. We know how to use social media in
Right.
a way to consistently get new updates. You know, sometimes I know things that are happening before the BBC does. It's natural. It's because we're talking to the actual people that are affected on the ground. We're not going through polished political sources. We're not going through the bureaucracy of trying to get a statement from a state representative. We don't have those luxuries, and we listen to real people and their experiences. And so I think big shout out obviously to all of the Palestinian journalists on the ground who've been risking their lives in filming. Some of them are members of our team. We have Muhammad Abu Safiya. He's been filming since the start of this genocide. Isam Adwan as well, who I mentioned before, is also a journalist that has been sharing content from the start of this. Flavia Capellini, she's not in Gaza at the moment. She's in Jerusalem, but she's been reporting every single day about what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Palestine at the moment. And so and you can't be on and not know what's happening anymore and not feel something about it. Um, yeah, it's, it's time for the politicians to listen now. I mean, 70% of the UK supports Palestinian, like not necessarily liberation at the moment, but at least calling for a ceasefire.
Mm.
You know, millions of people take to the streets every single week, but the government doesn't listen. That's the issue now. I think even older people are starting to support.
Yeah, I feel like that network you're talking about globally connecting Palestinians via social media and to the people on the ground and the journalists that are doing the work in Gaza is just amazing that that's been able to be fostered, and it's really going to drive that change that everybody's looking for. How is the communication with people in Gaza in general, would you say?
Well, it's getting more difficult every day. Um, it's getting more difficult every day. When we started when this genocide started, it was already difficult. Uh, Even before the genocide started, still have 6 hours of electricity a day in Gaza, still had irregular access to internet. Even before the war started, there are conversations I'd have with Ala that would last for 2-3 days because every day we'd have 10 minutes of that conversation.
Right.
Since the genocide started, there's been consistent media blackouts in Gaza. The Israelis have been targeting cell infrastructure. In these periods, atrocities have been committed. It's really difficult to just sit and wait to hear back from the person on the other side of the
Of course,
line.
yeah.
As time has progressed, our athletes have been driven further and further into what you might want to call it poverty, it's just annihilation at this point. We've got people that haven't eaten in 4 days, people who haven't drank water in days or had clean water to bathe from. So people are selling their cell phones. What are they gonna do? And people who aren't selling their cell phones aren't working anymore. They're in areas surrounded by the Israeli military. So communication has gotten more difficult, and as things go forward as well, I think they have more people staying in their houses now. Ala, our team captain, he went from having him and his wife and his 2 children in his house to having 35 people in his house to having 60 people in his house. He has 100 people in his house now. Every person on the wife's side of his family and every person on his side of the family, he's left his house. There's no space for him. He's gone to stay at his uncle's place. And they left the woman and children in the house because they want to give them more privacy and comfort. And so the day-to-day life of these guys, what they have to go through now to communicate with us, to have a second to chat, is incredibly difficult. But I think it's, at the same time, they've shown incredible resilience and a determination to keep telling their story for as long as they can. Um, one of the first weeks in this genocide, I was doing an Al Jazeera interview. I was still working my job at the time. With one of our athletes, Muhammad Alewa. Muhammad Alewa is a great athlete. He's big into many sports, but he really loved cycling. He's been working with us for like a year. And we were doing an interview with him, an Al Jazeera correspondent. Started at 9 a.m., I think, and he was just starting to open up by 9:27. At 9:30, I had a work meeting scheduled, so didn't know what was going to happen. I was getting ready to cancel the meeting actually because the interview with him was going really well. And at 9:28, we hear like a and then the line cuts. Al Jazeera journalist, she's panicking. She's like, "What the fuck just happened? Like, what just happened?" And she can't believe what happened. I'm just like in absolute shock and in denial. Um, I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to go. I log on to that work call because I just don't know what to do at that point. I go through the work call, keep my job. That was the mentality at the time. And on the flip end of that, like an hour later, I get a call from Muhammad Alewa. He's like fleeing his house. And he was like, Karim, I just wanted to let you know that I'm alive. I'm alive. They didn't blow up our house. They blew up our neighbor's house. I just stopped at a school to call you quickly. Everything's fine. I'm like, okay, thanks for letting me know. He just hung up and that was it. He hasn't had a house since
Wow.
that day. Um, yeah, the guys are, the guys are amazing. But communication sucks.
Yeah, I bet. And I think definitely in the West, we've kind of been sheltered from that kind of raw reality. As much as people try to share as much as they can about what's actually going on, unless you're there, you can never truly obviously experience or even sympathize with what's going on. And so one thing I really want to touch on is kind of how do you feel about the censorship of the Western media and how that's affected kind of like people's perception of what's actually going on in Gaza?
It is bizarre. It's bizarre. Like, um, it's just bizarre. I think censorship of Western media doesn't quite communicate what Western media has been doing. They haven't been censoring. Censorship is one thing.
Mm.
Western media has been spreading lies and propaganda. Western media has been justifying our onslaught and our murder. Western media has been vilifying us. Western media has made us feel like animals, has made us feel like we don't deserve to exist. But obviously, we don't feel that way because we know we deserve to exist. We know that what they're peddling is lies. But it has put us in a state of aggrievement. Like, it's just disgusting. A shame on them, honestly. I saw a quote that I really liked. It's if one person says it's raining outside and the other person says it's not the media's job to quote both sides. It's look out of the fucking window.
Exactly that.
And I mean, there's not much more to say. I mean, our journalists are dying. If you're not going to have pity for us, if you're not going to have empathy, if you're not going to, or even believe in our rights to freedom, to liberty, to happiness, to security, at least believe in your peers. People that are doing the same job as you that have been killed by this bombardment indiscriminately. What did they do to deserve to die? It's bizarre. Yeah, it destroys journalistic integrity, which is such a cornerstone of democracy. It is an absolute cornerstone of
100%.
democracy. And so it's caused not just a lack of trust in the press, but a lack of trust in the state and a lack of trust in the government, which is supposed to exist for us. We know it doesn't. So yeah, I mean they've done a great job at scandaling themselves. I hope. definitely follow Palestinian journalists. Definitely watch more than one news source. Don't get all of your information from BBC or Al Jazeera or any one of them. But definitely just look at what's happening to people on the ground. Follow the Gaza Sunbirds and look at the torment and the hope that our athletes are going through right now. Connect to real stories and real people. But there's nothing that cameras are capturing now that the word genocide shouldn't tell people. It's just ugly, and if you're still trying to believe some fake news to give yourself some quasi comfort that you're somehow unrelated to what's happening now, and that it's okay for you to keep living in this ignorance and to keep believing the lies. It's time for a reality check.
For sure. And I know now, more recently, the Gaza Sunbirds and yourself, you've been working with kind of athletes outside of just, cycling itself. So maybe you could tell us a bit about Athletes for Palestine and the work you've been doing there.
Yeah, sure. So that's actually been some super motivating work that we've been putting together. So I think the Gaza Sunbirds for a while has needed a call to action, particularly with the ongoing genocide. The idea for Athletes for Palestine was born out of the reality for sports people in the occupied territories, and more particularly in Gaza. And the basis of it is that, if as athletes, the Gaza Sunbirds had the dream to go and compete internationally, but time and time again, obstacles have come in their way. Ala wanted to become a professional cyclist. His leg was then amputated. He then had to become a paracyclist. He couldn't get the funding for that himself, so he decided to do a team. The team tried to compete. They couldn't. They couldn't get helmets. They were training without helmets. They couldn't get cleats. They had to get something to clip their foot into. When you're a paracyclist, when you're a regular cyclist, you push with one leg and then you push with the other, so it makes the wheels go around. But when you have one leg, you need something to pull that leg back up, right? So without cleats, you have to literally duct tape the leg onto the pedal so that they can move. Then they start getting invited to international competitions, international training. They can't go and attend because of visas, because of the siege, because of the divided nature of the existing Palestinian infrastructure for sports, being divided between the West Bank and Gaza. By having more than 6 wars in this period in which they've been trying to go out and compete and to learn from outside. And so at every single point along these guys' athletic journey, the occupation has stood in their way, in the way of others like them, of achieving their dreams. So much to the point that it literally took their legs. And so the idea of Athletes for Palestine was born to tell the international sporting community that sports is about fair play. Sports is about equal opportunity. Sports is about all of us standing together as people and having the same chance to achieve greatness, the same chance to push ourselves and to build for our people, for our beliefs. And if the people in Palestine right now, with the ongoing genocide, are unable to compete, you're not really winning a competition. You're not really competing in a fair game. You're not really you're not being a sports person. You're not practicing those fundamental values that make you what you are. And so Athletes for Palestine has come out as a call out to the athletic community to stand for Palestine and to stand for unity. For unity in these times of darkness and in these times of mass hysteria and of division by politicians for their own personal gain. We're athletes. We're coaches, we're sports team members, we run community centers. Our campaign has grown now to include more than 30 professionals from around the world and is growing every single day with new recruits, with new interest, all standing for the same message that in the face of genocide, in the face of oppression, in the face of occupation, we're going to stand for what's right. And we're going to do that with a call for unity and for peace and for harmony in this world, with a clear recognition that the first step to getting there is to end the brutal occupation and end the brutal siege and call for an immediate ceasefire. So yeah, that's a bit about the campaign.
What's the kind of response been like, and working with kind of the athletes that have joined the campaign so far?
They are awesome. They are so cool. The passion that we see, just the pure desire for an outlet that people feel right now. What's happening is difficult for everybody in the world. We're all facing a loss now. None of us is safe from what's happening. Each of us, when we see what's happening in Gaza, we think, how is the world letting this happen? We're all grieving. Everyone that sees it, they think, what if it was us next? How would the world respond? How would it be different? What's to stop it from being us next? And so people, whether they're athletes, whether they're teachers, whether they're artists, everyone has wanted to help. Everyone overwhelmingly has wanted to support. People are looking for ways to support. And so the motivation that we've seen coming from these athletes, their personal connection to the story of the Gaza Sunbirds, to helping them understand what's happening, to helping illustrate it to other athletes as well, it's been so immensely powerful and inspiring to me. And it's really helped us keep going. I mean, even the guys in Gaza, when they hear about, Ryan Lay is supporting you, or Mark Rowan is supporting you, or Imogen Cotter is supporting you, they're like, wow. Wow,
Yeah.
like these guys have never left their refugee camp in their life, and then open air prison. So it really speaks to the immense power of sport to tell a story
100%.
and to connect people. And, we're not politicians, we're not aid workers, we've been giving out aid. That's not our job. I haven't told you anything that hasn't been driven my existence by my reality, by my lived experiences, or by the lived experiences of my team. If it didn't happen to us, I wouldn't be here talking to you about it. We're a sports team. That's all we're trying to be. But because of life, we're forced to be everything else. And, I hope one day soon we'll be able to go back to our lives and pursue our dreams together. And this will all be over.
I think seeing the support of the entire sporting community for
Sure. So we're a small team. We're a small team internationally. That means we struggle to get our message out beyond like what the help of some amazing volunteers from around the world. If you want us to say our story, like if you want to hear our story, have us come and speak at events, make posts about what's happening to us, speak at rallies about what's happening to the Gaza Sunbirds. If you have trouble speaking to your family about Palestine, use our story. Tell them it's a group of guys, they have bikes, they wanted to compete. Look at what's happening. I swear they didn't do anything, have nothing to do with October 7th. They just want to live their life. How do you explain that? I'm hoping that the story of the Sunbirds can help ease some of that cognitive dissonance that people have between what they see and the reality of life on the ground. Have conversations, go out to rallies, go and protest, keep making noise, don't stop making noise, keep demanding our rights, don't stop fighting for them. We're closer than you think to winning, I think. And winning, there's no winning at this point. So many people are dead and so much is destroyed. Winning is in managing to stop this chaos and this death and this destruction. There's no point losing hope now in continuing. Everyone needs to keep speaking out. That's also how you can help the Sunbirds. And how you can help Palestine and how you can help Gaza. Keep sharing stories that you see from the ground. The press and the media isn't doing it. So let's democratize the press. Let's democratize the media. Every single person listening, it's in your hands to get information to other people. It's in your hands to tell your friends and family. It's not time to be worried about awkward dinner time conversations or falling out with somebody. No, it's time to stand for what's right, and you know, whatever small sacrifice you have to do for that, it means so much, and in the grand scheme of things, will probably affect you so little. Um, and yeah, beyond that, come and volunteer. If someone's interested in volunteering, if someone believes in what the Athletes for Palestine is doing, please come and help us reach out to athletes, help athletes reach out to each other, help us make content, help us spread the word.
100%. And I feel like the work that Gaza Sunbirds are doing and Athletes of Palestine is definitely breaking down those barriers for people that, might not share, or they feel like they can't help, or, they're apathetic to the situation. But really, it's all about that collective, contribution to this. And that's what's really going to hammer home what we're looking for here in the ceasefire and, other outcomes. What can you tell us about the Big Ride for Palestine?
Big Ride for Palestine is a fun one. It's an annual bike ride that we do to raise awareness around the UK for Palestine. So it's not actually the Gaza Sunbirds that run it. They're their own group, and they've been fundraising for us for the last 2 years. Their fundraiser and the fundraiser of the supporters that many of whom I've met, and we've shared great memories together on this ride, have kept the Sunbirds. There's so few places in the world where you can cycle for long enough without running into a border or without running into a police checkpoint or a military checkpoint. And so when it comes to cycling's ability to really transcend borders, like when you see with the Tour de France, people going into 5-6 countries. In Gaza, it's a 42-kilometer strip of land, and the guys trained by going from one side to the other. I think the race in Ostend this year was 71 kilometers for C-class athletes, for Allah's degree of amputation. So to train for that race in Gaza, they'd have to go from one side fence to the next side of the fence, back to the other side of the fence, and they've just about made the distance. And so the Big Ride for Palestine has always been about how can we tell these people's stories while making use of the fact that we can get on bikes, we can cycle from city to city, we can cycle from town to town, speaking about Palestine freely, waving the Palestinian flag on our bike, something Palestinians in Palestine aren't allowed to do because of the occupation. And yeah, it's great fun. I think the last few years it's been over capacity, so we can't actually. I don't know how many more people can sign up. They'll definitely be happening next August. And in the meantime, I'm kind of inspired by the amazing work that I've seen done there. And as well as with some of the Big Rides team members, we've partnered now officially with them to organize bi-weekly rides across the UK. So I think till now we've done rides in 9 cities in the UK, I believe. And we've had in total, I think, more than 20 rides happening, sometimes simultaneously. And so come out with us. We're filling up the streets. We're going out. We're making some noise, do some sports, take a break from consistently being on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean you have to take a break from doing activism or from sharing the story. It's a great community. Everyone's very loving. It's a sick place to organize, and yeah, please join us.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think a lot of times when people think about activism, they think about, doing things that are really radical and things that maybe is outside of their character, but it can be those just simple acts, like you said, of being in solidarity, joining those rides, volunteering and those kind of things. And, people don't understand how much of a marked difference that can make, even though it doesn't feel like the kind of typical, activism that they may have, heard of in the past.
Yeah, it's huge. I think I don't even like talking about activism as activism anymore. What is politics is a civic duty. If you're a member of a society, if you're a member of a community, it's your job to speak out about what you believe in and speak out for change. I think sometimes we forget that in democracies. Like, if we don't all take these small actions in whatever way they can, we collectively make up this country. If there's something in this country that doesn't look right or that doesn't feel right, it's in each of our power to do something to stop it. We have that privilege here. It's so immense. It's so immense. I didn't grow up with that privilege. I got that privilege moving to this country. So have so many other people. And it's not to be understated. So yeah, every small thing counts. If you leave a sticker of a Palestinian flag on a bus stop, if you talk to your colleague about it, if you chat with a family member that doesn't know, you go on a bike ride with a Palestinian flag, you just go to a rally and stand and walk. That's all you got to do. And try to do some more, but that's a great place to start. Don't feel futile. I think that's so important. I think when people see the Gaza Sunbirds, they're like, wow, what they're doing is incredible. It is incredible. I'm in consistent shock. But if you want to break it down to the fundamental basics, these guys are taking a parcel on a bike and dropping it off somewhere else. They're just doing it under circumstances that you wouldn't even imagine leaving your house in. But the action is the same. They're getting on a bike. Do not underestimate the power of that. Do not underestimate the power of what one person can do. Really believe in yourself. Have hope that you can make a change. That's what brought us to this point.
100%. 100%. And I feel like with the current situation and how dire it is, people sometimes get bogged down in, how bad the situation is. But what I really wanted to ask is, what does that kind of idea of freedom look like to you? What real solution are we looking at here that we should all be striving towards and kind of keep in the back of our mind when we're thinking about giving our support?
So, I always say that, like, when you stop believing in a future, when you stop seeing a possible future, then you've already lost. And so no matter how bad things have gotten, I've always had a dream for what that can look like. I'm not going to talk about political side of my dream. My dream is very simple. Ben Ala's dream as well. We've always wanted a bike lane in Gaza. We wanted the bike lane from the north of the strip to the south of the strip. And we'd love for that bike lane to be on the beach. People in Gaza didn't have access to the beach for years, until the Israelis left, actually, in 2006, because all of the illegal settlements were actually built on the beach. And so Palestinians living in Gaza could never go and enjoy it until the siege started. And so what I really hope for is that we can go back to the beach, we can build this bike path, we can help more amputees now as a result of this war. I hope that number doesn't keep growing. I hope that caps out very soon. This war ends. Helping them get back on a bike, helping them regain their motivation, regain their determination as people to do what they want. And to build this team and to get it to the Olympics. To keep sharing our message with the world and to empower other athletes and other people in Palestine and around the world to feel like, if we can do it, and if the guys can do it on a bike with one leg, what's stopping you? There's nothing stopping you. Do it.
100%.
Just do it.
I think that is so, so important. And, I think some people, their only kind of experience of Palestine and the Palestinian people is this conflict and this kind of bloodstained history. But what other aspects of Palestinian culture that you want to share so, people can understand a little bit more?
Sure. Palestinian culture is an interesting one. We're not so homogenized as a people. There's so much diversity within Palestine, between city and city and town, village and village. I think the single thing that brings us all together is the impacts of the Nakba and the impacts of colonization on us. So our identity that has emerged has been one of connection to the land and one of resistance to settler violence and oppression and the theft. And so what really unites us beyond the war is a love for life. It's a cornerstone of our culture. We love to live, we love to laugh. We love to cycle. We love to cook. We love to eat. We love our families. We love our kids. We love learning. We love improving. We build with whatever you give us. My dad's family was in a refugee camp in the West Bank for many years when he was a child. Got concrete. They built the floor. They built a house, like a little fence around the tent. And they built a home. No matter what camps we come from, we all try to get an education. We all try to excel. We have such a strong belief in the power of education and the power of knowledge. That's why we're so big into the press and into telling people the truth. That's why we're so big into writing, to telling our stories. We have beautiful poetry, beautiful music and musicians and artists for hundreds of years who have told the story of this land and our connection to it. We love agriculture. We love gardening. We love planting. It's so fundamental to us. My family used to be farmers. We used to work on a field. Everything that we used to live used to come from the land. And so much of, my connection to Palestine growing up, although I've never been, I wasn't allowed to go. I won't be allowed to go probably until liberation. It's just my dad telling me about the leaves that they would pick from the fields to make meals, and from the meadows, and the different types of herbs that grow around, and the way that the hills look, and what life was like in, just people. We're just a strong people. It's our culture is very rich, and I think part of the reason that the world hasn't gotten to enjoy it, unfortunately, although we're so open and sharing it to the world, and we love people so much. If you visit Palestine, if you ever manage to visit, I've never heard anyone tell stories other than being welcomed into people's houses and being showered with food and being just told everything that anyone wants to know. We're very open people. The occupations just stopped the world from seeing that. The occupations just vilified us for years. The media has vilified us for years. We're both a very simple people and a very creative and proud people. So there's so much beauty to be found in Palestine. There's so much support, I think, that can be given to the world. And I hope that in a liberated Palestine, we will be a cornerstone for rights, people's rights, for justice, for the rest of human existence. I think that's how I see Palestine, at least. Yeah.
I think the Gaza Sunbirds and your connection to sport is really interesting, and using sports as a vehicle to really power this campaign has been really interesting to see. Do you think that working with the Gaza Sunbirds and cycling has deepened your connection with sport?
Oh, you have no idea. I'm so grateful for sports. It's amazing. I don't think I ever fully understood it. I think Arabs, ironically, a lot of us are into sports, but it's not it's not like it's hot, man. It's like 55 degrees in the summer where I grew up. You go out, you can fry an egg if you're on your bike. It's not the kind of place you want to take a deep breath and the humidity fills your lungs, man. You feel like you're drowning underwater. But I mean, since I started working with the team, I cycle everywhere now. I can't get off my bike. I absolutely love cycling. I think the power of athletes, I realize, is all in their heads. It's all a mental game. Sports is all a mental game. I realized that when I first started working with the team, our biggest challenge, and I'm telling you, like siege, occupation, military, bombs, poverty, no way in, no way out, open steel cage. Our biggest challenge in all of this has been mental health. Our biggest challenge has been mental health. To become an athlete, you have to fundamentally believe in what is impossible, that you're able to do it, right? You have to believe that you're able to do it, and then you have to push your body to its absolute limits and able to get there. And so when you start working with guys who have had everything taken from them in a society where they're alienated and quite isolated, like, you have to convince him that he's good enough to get on a bike. And you have to convince him He wants to get on the bike. Then you have to convince him that there's a purpose to get on the bike. And then you have to give him the space to enjoy it. And then you have to convince him that it's possible to leave, that it's possible. No, but despite that, these guys, their mental resilience is, there's no other word for it. They just keep going. There's no barriers. And it's made me feel such an appreciation for the power of athletes. And an appreciation as well for why sports mean so much to people and why it's so effective in communicating a story. It normally takes millions of dollars to build a paracycling team or a cycling team. And some cycling teams have like $18 million R&D budget. We started off the team with $5K. It takes the efforts of an entire nation to come together, to bring one person forward, to say, you represent us now, go and show the world our excellence. It's so powerful. It's so powerful. And the fact that we've been trying to do that in these circumstances just shows the world like we're trying our best. This is where our best has gotten us, you know? This is the extent which we're allowed to show our excellence to the world because of the occupation. This is how difficult it's been to get you the message of a few guys in Gaza who just want to ride bikes and represent their country and make their families proud. Yeah, sports is awesome.
Yeah,
and it's great for the brain and it's great for the heart. Come out and join us on the big ride and get the blood flowing. And
100%.
Yeah,
I think a key theme, of this kind of conflict being so tied to sports, especially with the Athletes for Palestine campaign, has been hope. These guys, they want to go and they want to compete in the Paralympics and the Olympics and represent Palestine and show people, what the Palestinian people are capable of. What does that hope mean to you?
Hope is all we have right now. Hope is not so complicated when you break it down. Hope is just the belief that, and someday in the future, there will be a day that is better than today. I think we can't abandon that hope. And what keeps that hope going is people. Because we know people aren't going to let this happen forever. People like you, people like me, people like Halat and the guys are not going to stop talking about what's happening, are not going to stop platforming this topic and sharing the reality of these atrocities with the world. Hope looks like to me now, I hope everyone survives. I hope we avoid as many deaths as we can avoid. And we could have avoided all of them. I hope we really avoid any more. I hope that there's a Gaza left to go back to. I'm sure that there will be. They will not be able to kick us out no matter what they try. I have hope. Like I said, I have hope that we're going to be able to help Gaza build back. I have hope that we're going to build back a city that is more accessible, a city that is greener, a city that is better for its inhabitants. But all of that hope is worth nothing if we don't keep going. There is no time for despair at the moment. It's not that people are so much hopeful. We don't have the time to be depressed or to sit and loiter in our emotions. Every day is about, okay, I have to go find water for my family. I have to start the day at 6 a.m. I have to go. It takes me 6 hours. I might not find water. Okay, now I have to go find food. Where am I going to find food? Which bakeries aren't bombed? Do they still have gas? Are they still working? These are the kinds of questions. I think there's no space, for despair right now. And so people are fearful. People are fearful of the unknown. No one knows what's going to happen. No one knows where we're going to end up. But we do have a faith that, in the end of the day, we're going to get our justice. We're going to get our liberation. We're going to get what's rightfully ours. I just hope there's enough of us left to enjoy it at that point.
100%. 100%. Do you have anything you want to share? Any final messages let people know where they can find you, where they can find the Gaza Sunbirds?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, for starters, like, it's amazing what the youth out there have been doing. It's amazing to see all the support. Keep it going. If you want to support us more, definitely follow us. We're the Gaza Sunbirds on Instagram and on TikTok mainly. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter, but we're not that active. Get in touch. We're on www.gazasunbirds.org if you want to volunteer, if you want to give us any press outlets, you want to set up interviews with the guys. If you want to help us share the story, please do get in touch.
Perfect. Thank you so much. This has been an incredible conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Jaydon.
Thank you.